is, as I said before, Medina is known as Madinatul Munawwara because the Prophet ﷺ came to Medina. Before the Prophet ﷺ arrived, this city was known as Yathrib. When the Prophet ﷺ came, he initially came to Quba. Remember the story I told you in the bus about Quba? And then the Prophet ﷺ came here. One of the first concerns he had is he wanted to build the masjid. So he needed land for that. So he saw this land here. It belonged to two orphans, Sahal and Suhail radiallahu anhuma. And the Prophet ﷺ, he was negotiating with them and he said, I want to purchase this land and I want to build the masjid. So Sahal and Suhail, they said, you are the Prophet, we'll give it to you for free. And the Prophet ﷺ said, in that case, I don't want it. You either allow me to purchase it or I won't take it. So the Prophet ﷺ, remember, he was a tajir, he was a businessman up till the age of 40. So he is the one who financed by himself the land for the Prophet ﷺ's masjid. He paid with his own money. And then what he did is, Abu Ayyub al-Ansari's home was right in front of the Green Dome. I would say you take 5 or 6 big steps. Right in front of the Green Dome, take 5 or 6 big steps, and that was where the home of Abu Ayyub al-Ansari radiallahu anhu's home was. Okay? And Abu Ayyub al-Ansari radiallahu anhu, he was a relative of the Prophet ﷺ from his mother's side. And you've heard the story about the camel. When the Prophet ﷺ came, the Prophet ﷺ, everybody wanted him to be hosted by themselves. They said, we'll host you, we'll keep you. So the Prophet ﷺ said, no, innaha ma'mura. This camel has been instructed. Wherever it goes, that's where I'm going to stay. So the camel would go in one direction and the Sahaba would get excited that, the Prophet ﷺ is going to stay in our vicinity, and then the camel would move away. So it did this few times, and then finally it stopped near the home of Abu Ayyub al-Ansari radiallahu anhu, and it stayed there. So the Prophet ﷺ said, I'm staying with Abu Ayyub al-Ansari radiallahu anhu. And for 6 months, the Prophet ﷺ stayed in his home while the masjid was being built. And there's many stories, I'll just share one story. So Abu Ayyub al-Ansari radiallahu anhu, he says, I was very honored to host the Prophet ﷺ. Initially, we allowed him space in the lower floor, and we were on the upper floor. And the Prophet ﷺ, one day he came after prayer, and we told him that all night myself and my family didn't sleep, because we were saying this is so disrespectful that we are on top of the Prophet ﷺ. So the Prophet ﷺ said, there's no disrespect in that, but if that makes you feel better, I can go upstairs, no problem. So then again, he relocated them, the Prophet ﷺ and his family, upstairs. And then there's also some narrations about